7, it all comes down to liquidity. So to run an exchange, it's all about liquidity, meaning the trading volume, meaning the quality of your trading volume, right? So there are multiple aspects of that. So basically, this is what I always call, typically in the investment bank, the trading world, it's called a virtual cycle. Meaning, if you do every step right, basically the cycle itself will run perpetually, per se. So exchange, when you look at New York Stock Exchange, look at NASDAQ, look at COPEX, look at Toronto or Tokyo Stock Exchange. At the end of the day, all those successful exchange is about attracting liquidity. And how do we do that for Bitmax or Global Digital Mercantile? It's very simple. Our global platform is really targeting many diverse customer base. So currently there are exchange customer base. So currently there are exchange targeting more retail base. And there are also exchange that are only targeting institutional base. And there are exchange only targeting the cryptocurrency token. And there are exchange that covers crypto to crypto, but not fiat. So there are lots of different exchanges that target a slice of the overall universe. So what we're trying to accomplish is we're trying to have a global platform that can talk to global retail users. We have a platform that can talk to global institutional traders, and all combined together that build a very diversified user base. And that hopefully will increase all the trading volume. And then because our engineers, our technologists, actually with a wealth of years of market making, quant trading experience, so what we're trying to build platform is to have a mechanism to actually enhance the market depth and liquidity, right? And then we have different economic models behind it. Eventually, exchange is about trading volume, is about liquidity. The more liquidity you have, the more people want to trade on you, on your exchange, right? So from a Bitmax perspective, we're going to talk about mining, right? Transaction mining. So we're going to start with a profit sharing that with the transaction-driven mining. What that means is really trying to attract more users and trying to get the volume, transaction volume up. So that was basically increasing the trading volume. And then how do we actually keep the volume, right? Not losing the volume. It all comes down to we gotta have an institutional quality platform. And I talked about the difference between the current cryptocurrency trading dominated by a lot of the retail traders or retail users, or when you're looking at it, the large institution setting aside, when they come into the trading world, they really need to have a sophisticated platform that can handle order in a very low latency and a very high put through, meaning very highly volume transaction perspective. And also when institutional player come in, just like all of us from retail perspective, we care about transaction cost. They care too. So we want to make sure our platform have the transparency about how much, what you pay, the commission. We want to provide a really good structure that encourage the right trading behavior, the very low commission base, right? And then from a security perspective, this is again, from a Wall Street trading background, cybersecurity, operational risk management, it is core part of our DNA. We are building a platform that actually can manage the security, manage the different layers of activities, and we have a real-time monitoring of all the trading activity globally to achieve that. And so go back to where the users is definitely global, and right now Bitmax is actually facing off all the global users, and in the crypto-to-crypto transaction world, and across the currency tokens, as well as the securitized token as well. So this is what we think about at the end of the day. Currently, there are a lot of exchanges in the cryptocurrency world, and they do everything. They do the client management, they do wallet management, they do execution, they do a lot of things under the umbrella of exchange. But when we're looking at the real exchange that shines at the end of the tunnel, at the end of the day, is really about liquidity. We need a good quality of liquidity, we need a volume, then by having that volume, then we can provide a better service, better information for all users, for all traders. So a lot of questions, like I said, last couple months, basically we've seen from the community is really about the transaction mining. And I do know in Korea, you also have some exchanges that have some kind of transaction mining model. So what I think I want to talk a little bit about that is, one, I'm assuming most people understand what is transaction mining is about. Because when I was in Europe and I was in some other region, there are people sending me emails like, where can I find the machine to mine the coin? So always the first question is, it's not, you don't have to buy the machine, like you have to mine the Bitcoin. So what this transaction mining boils down to is really, the more you trade, the more token you're going to be mined out. So it's a simple matter of trading activity. It's a stipulation for encouraging trading on our platform. So how does the token work? Basically, you can send for the slide. How the token works is basically, currently we've already had a token, like number of tokens, and right now basically it's been kind of in a smart contract. So as you progress with the trading, so basically, first of all, you're going to get token. The token we mine out is through 100% return of transaction fees, which means if you pay $10 transaction on the platform for trading on Bitmax, you get that $10 back in the Bitmax token, BXTN, right? And then on top of that, you also, basically similar to other platform, we're going to share the transaction commission with all the platform token holders. So that will be the additional in terms of sharing our commission revenue in exchange for your data. Transaction data, as I mentioned, transparency, everything. Transaction data is really critical for us to understand user behavior, for us to understand the trading patterns. It's critical. So to exchange for that data, we actually share 80% of our platform commission in the form of token and giving back to the token holders. So, and then there are a lot of questions around how do you manage the token valuation, and there are multiple success and unsuccess stories with transaction mining. I think you probably have heard about different cases. I've definitely got a lot of questions asked me recently, and my team is how do you look at a token mechanism in terms of token valuation? So the way we're looking at it, there's a stabilization mechanism. So the way we look at it is from an economic perspective. Everything. One fundamental force behind it is simple matter of supply and demand. So we, knowing how the valuation works, knowing how the trading works from a financial risk background, so what we're looking at it is really how we as an exchange manage the supply and demand of our token. The number of tokens available for trade, the speed the token get mined out, and also the number of tokens that will be eligible for commission. Those are a serious number of quant modeling that we're working on to actually hopefully optimize the overall token supply and demand. That is one element of that. The second element, it boils down to, again, from an equity valuation perspective, every single token, whether it's my token or Bitmax token, or whether it's any other ICO project token that you guys are setting, it all comes down to the intrinsic value of that token, i.e. the profitability, the business model, right? So in that particular case, the token valuation comes down to how much volume we've got on our trading platform and how much of the commission are we generating out of our trading platform. So this goes back to how do you manage your basic profitability of the platform. And that is a simple valuation perspective. So in that, the successful case, you can look at it is Binance. So Binance has token. They're not doing through mining, but they issue their token. And their token valuation is fairly steady. It's because Binance runs pretty healthy trading volume that generates healthy trading commission. So from our perspective, our token, we also have a model to basically making sure there's, first of all, supply and demand balance, optimization, and also from a commission sharing perspective, we also have a mechanism getting that stabilized, getting that, basically sustained as long as possible, to sustain the value. And then one thing is very important, we're not security token, we're platform utility token. So the token can definitely, we encourage token holder to use our token, to consume our token. There are multiple ways of doing that. It's actually, you can literally use the token to pay for your commission. And there's a lot of, we're looking at a listing project. Again, we're taking a very transparent approach to anything that happens on the exchange. And because it's a very much user-driven, so there's a listing project, there's voting, and there's also various sort of different promotional program. And we actually just launched a very successful referral and sweepstake program that was just concluded, I think, last night, midnight. We had a huge amount of interest and a huge amount of users sign up and trading. So when you're thinking about that kind of promotional program, you know, with the BTMX, our token, it also can participate in that. So in generally, I have to summarize, the transaction mining is a way of attracting liquidity to the exchange, because the exchange is all about liquidity. And it's not something that we view as a permanent business model, because eventually all the token will be mined out. And then we're trying to sustain the token value by running a very healthy, scalable, global exchange that generates very sustainable commission stream that we can share with the users. That is the mechanism for us to hold the token value. So end of the day, when I step back, looking at overall strategy of Bitmax.io as well as the global digital mercantile, the most important thing is we have to have a medium to long-term plan to expand the user, and not only just look at the current user base, but also expand it into institutional. And then we also have to be able to sharpen our trading mechanism, our market making capabilities, our entire supporting service, from listing to incubating, that kind of thing, to actually generate the value for the exchange. That is actually the most important thing to make the platform sustainable. So, like I said, we're really looking at the Korean market as one of the most important market for us. And so there are a lot of things happening. And we would like to actually take this opportunity, since there are so many of you guys, and there are a lot of questions recently from the community base, as well as a lot of people asking. So we would like to actually take this opportunity to provide you with real fresh updates about where we are from a platform perspective, right? So on the listing service side, right now we've already confirmed one primary listing, and it's actually, we will have another meetup in India where the details will be announced. But again, from a listing perspective, the primary listing will definitely generate a lot of the liquidity in terms of the trading volume, and it is something that we actually care deeply, because we think we have a lot of value-add service in terms of helping the projects, bring the project to the global platform, right? And actually working with them with a very customized solution to help them design their token, to help them marketing their project, to help them actually generate real value. So for a lot of listing services, in contrary to a lot of the big players, we're looking at it as really as a partnership. It's a strategic relationship. So we actually provide a very economic fee structure. A lot of them, if the project is good, we don't even charge a fee, because we think it's important to, instead of taking the revenue, taking the profit from the project, they should save their money to actually develop their project, to actually make it actually better. So we think from that perspective, the listing service is really a very much strategic relationship we built with those blockchain projects to help them, to market them, to actually bring their technology to a wider use in terms of application. So this is the most important thing in our mind in terms of the exchange providing the boost for the crypto economy, right? So, and then currently we are also talking with 3 or 5 other projects in terms of having that kind of listing services and advisory providing the service. So that's on the listing side. We're very much on the top of that. So this is actually the first time I actually make this pretty public. So from a mining timeline, there are lots of questions. There are lots of pressures on us to actually explain, clarify. So the mining timeline, actually, to be honest, the team, we are actually more excited, more anxious about starting the mining. However, when we're looking at what is the infrastructure requirement, what is the business model requirement from a mining perspective, we want to actually making sure, 1, we have the infrastructure stress tested. 2, we want to making sure we've got the token economic model designed properly. So whoever actually bought or mined out, Bitmax token, the valuation stay, like I've mentioned in the previous page. So we spend a tremendous amount of time and within the team, because we've got a lot of quant modeling experience, understanding of the financial markets and the product valuation. So we do take the time to actually understand, coming up with an optimal design, and I think we're getting very close. And every single step along the way, we actually do talk to our strategic investor as well, because we want to align everybody's interest. We want to make it successful, not just for us, but also for users, for retail users like you guys, for communities, as well as the institutional investors. So then it is going to be, then this is something sustainable. We've got the broader acceptance. So we took the time. Right now, where we are is actually our development team is near the end of development of all the components. And then we're going to kick off the internal testing end to end. And then that is also the testing, making sure the functional, making sure the modeling, making sure the economics work. And then also the very important thing, as you guys all know, transaction mining brought in a huge amount of volume. First, a lot spiked up. A lot of system, a lot of the exchanges we've seen in the past cannot handle the volume. So some of them literally crashed within a couple hours, and we don't want to have that coming to us. And the system that we're building is very much large scale. However, we still want to fully test it out, stress it out. So we're actually going to spend the next 2-3 weeks actually stress testing the system from the website as well to all the way back to the engine. So what that means is we're going to do public test on the testnet towards the end of October. And I think this is not something that we should take it lightly. We want to make sure everything is working as planned. And with the beauty of blockchain technology, it's very decentralized. So we will, just like how we do the public launch with Bitmax, we want to invite users, the miners, the institutional players with API, and really try out the mining function, and just to see how, from a processing perspective, and as well as how overall the economic model works. So that's the test net. People can actually test it out. And then based on how that goes, we hope, best case scenario, we hope we can launch somewhere from the mid like 10th, 11th of the November. That's where we're looking to launch the mining. So when you're looking at the mining and hand in hand, we hope we can launch a couple primary listing on the exchange. So then you will see the volume actually really work, and we hope that will be something that's sustainable. Right? And then just on the last but not least, we're actually working around the clock, and the team has expanded quite dramatically in the last couple months in terms of our development resource. So we're making improvement to our platform every single day, taking the feedback from all our user communities, our institutional investors, and our traders, and so on and so forth. So we've anticipated the margin compression, just like it happened in equity, fixed income. When you have a lot of players and you have limited liquidity, what that means is the commission will get squeezed, meaning, so in anticipation for that, coming out of the equity trading experience, we actually just lowered our commission to be one of the lowest, just 4 basis points, right? And then what we're also looking at, again, understanding cryptocurrency, blockchain technology is very much not just lived on a computer, it actually lives across every possible media. So we're actually looking to launch mobile trading on the mobile side, hopefully by the end of this week. I'm getting real update from the development team. And then from overall website trading view, we actually have gone through almost 3 rounds of upgrade, improving the user experience and user flows. Now we're looking to have another huge upgrade in the next couple weeks. And hopefully that will actually be able to give you the flexibility to, based on the user's profile, like if you're a retail investor, you can get to choose what is the trading view, like works for you. And for sophisticated, like professional traders, what kind of view that works for you. So we're trying to, again, the platform is built to gear towards multiple diverse user groups. And we're actually improving that every single day to get there. And of course, there are lots of questions, lots of kind of complaints last couple of weeks. And And yeah, this is something we also have been working on. So hopefully, but in the next couple months, it's not something. It's like you literally can build over the night. It's actually completely different language, different infrastructure altogether. We've got the team in place, and they're working actually very feverishly right now. Hopefully, we can bring the mobile app in the next couple of months. So it has been, I have to say, being in an investment bank and working in a corporate environment for 18 years. I have to say, since I started GDM, Global Digital Mercantile, and then Bitmax with my friend George and the founding team member since April, it has been very exciting and very challenging last 6 months. And I think we had made a tremendous, huge amount of progress. And I think when we're looking ahead from the future development and global footprint perspective, we have definitely planned out a lot ahead. And where is the bear market or bull market, I think we're ready. And where their market, there's a heavy regulation, we're ready. Where their market, there's a very benign market environment, we're ready. So in generally, we're actually really hopefully built good to great and built to last. With that, thank you so much. I appreciate your patience and your listening. And I will open up for the Q&A. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know.
Hi, thanks for your talk here. I'm here. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you for the talk. I have two questions actually. So Bitmax is another transaction mining exchange, and we do know that's not a new thing in the industry. And I think the first example that comes up to many investors' minds is Fcoin and how it's led to its demise. So my first question is, what is Bitmax different from Fcoin? And my second question is, a lot of the exchanges, when they gain liquidity, I think what they overlook is customer support, because due to the nature of trading, there might be situations where traders need help immediately, but then since Bitmax is targeting a global user, it seems like people might not have the English ability to ask, or they might need help right now. So I want to know what Bitmax has prepared for in terms of customer support.
Hold on, let me just check. Oh, I do have this. Those are very two good questions. And for transaction mining, this is actually hit on the nail in terms of looking at the rise and down of the Fcoin. And so first of all, I want to say, as I mentioned in the presentation, Bitmax is a pretty global business, right? Transaction mining is only as part of the business strategy to attract the liquidity. Studying Fcoin, studying CoinEx, studying Coinio, there are multiple transaction mining exchange that completely build their business model solely on transaction mining. They didn't do very well. We actually studied them. We studied what is the cause. Some of them because they're dumb, because their system couldn't handle volume, and some of them didn't design their token economics. So they actually have a stellar rocket rise in 2 days, and then within a week they just basically famished. So this is where we, again, I hate to say, from a financial, traditional finance background, we look at it from those exchanges that couldn't handle the mining. We actually study the volume pattern. We're looking at the bottleneck. We're looking at basically how we, as a platform, can handle that kind of volume spike. That's why we're in the process working pretty feverishly, looking at stress testing to making sure our infrastructure can handle that. From a token design, Fcoin is a perfect example that you brought it up. We actually, our team, some of my team members sit in the back, they actually studied the Fcoin, they studied the OKX, they studied some other exchange. When you're looking at it, the whole the token mechanism, a lot of time, what again goes back to the understanding of the risk, the understanding of the valuation of a token. I explain this quite kind of clearly. Is a lot of time, if you don't have a good mechanism, manage your supply and demand, you could have an oversupply situation where your token pricing will just tank. That's one aspect of it. And the other one is you don't have a mechanism to sustain the valuation of your token, meaning your commission, your redistribution of your commission. So that is also something that we have to be carefully managed. So from a supply perspective, supply and demand, it's all about supply and demand balance. We have to manage, basically have a mechanism, manage number of tokens that are being mined every day, right? And then we also have to manage the token that actually are eligible for commission. Not every single token have equal value, right? And then we also have to manage overall what is the population that in circulation in terms of token. So that's basically the supply side. As to the valuation, in terms of the intrinsic value of the token, the capability of generating the commission, the capability of having the volume that provide that, this is also something that we're actually looking at very carefully to design in the most optimal point from an economic valuation perspective. So that's how we think we're going to differentiate, because we spend the time and not just like, not just the developers spend time. George himself actually, all day and night, all he can think of is really the token mechanism and how to design in the most quantitative and economic way. So we have a core team and we discussed this very rigorously last 4 weeks. This is one of the things people asking, you delay timeline. I said, you know what, in this market, with all the volatility, I have to think about every single aspect. And the other thing is about how you do the overall risk management, operationally, as well as just volume-wise. This is where we look at it very carefully. So to some extent, I can't, I'm not a person that will guarantee anything better, but I just think we took the time from the from the trading quant perspective, we probably will have a more thorough thought process, structured thinking around the token mechanism design and how we manage the supply demand. That's why we think we actually, based on our background, our experience, that's where we actually shine versus most of the other exchange. They rushed the market. They just wanted to, do their mining real fast. They didn't really have the time or take the time to actually think through those mechanisms. So, and then your second question on the customer service. Actually, this is where I have to tell you. Within the public launch since August, mid of August, there are actually multiple bloggers, and there's one big article talking about our customer service. Coming from, again, from a traditional finance background, where last 20 years, because of what happened in competition, what actually stands out is really the customer-centric strategy. So this is something that we actually is part of our DNA. So from a customer support perspective, guess who is the number one customer support? Our CEO. He actually is since we launched, he has been very active in all the community channels. So we have a tremendous amount of growth in our Telegram, English, Chinese, and then we also have a tremendous amount of growth in WeChat. And George himself actually actively managed that, providing the direct customer support. There was one article actually rated him number one customer support in the entire crypto exchange. And because we care about, when we're looking at this, we don't look at this, we're exchange. We come here to make money. We look at the exchange as a platform to actually not only we grow, ourselves, learning new business, learning new technology. We look at it as a strategic partnership. So every single user who trade on our exchange, every single feedback, every single issue really matters to us. So our customer support is 24/7. We have a team and we have a very structured approach, looking at the time, looking at the language coverage, and basically from escalation, from a issue resolution perspective, it goes directly into me and George. And then we actually can directly, because the knowledge and, because we built this platform from zero to now, we almost know every single aspect of the entire technology platform. So we, to some extent, we leverage that expertise, we direct. So from customer support profile, I'm very confident right now, you don't see many crypto exchange where the CEO or the chief technology officer or including, the team, high levels actually answer questions directly. We even have KPI, key performance indicator for our customer service support. in terms of the answering the question and turnaround with issue resolution, as well as in terms of providing the transparency. So we're actually really proud because we see every single users as partners for our business and critical success factor.
네, 질문 감사합니다. 저희가 행사 시간이 조금 제한되어 있어서 Q&A는 조금 이따 패널 디스커션 때 조금 더 지속을 해서 하는 걸로 이제 진행을 하도록 하겠습니다. 그럼 지금까지 발표